How can a secret invite to an ex at a crowded girls' night end with my name read out loud under bright lobby lights? Why did my husband's face look calm, almost gentle, when the bell sounded and the envelope hit my hand? What if the neat answer to my messy night is a public service of divorce papers and a schedule I did not choose? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Undine Vesper, and I plan events at a community center. I tell people to share the stage. At home, I said the same rule should work for love. I told my husband, Adrian, that girls' night was just drinks and dancing. I did not add that I had invited my ex Marco to stop by later. Adrian asked if he should worry. I said adults can mingle. He asked for clear lines. I said freedom needs trust. He went quiet and set our daughter Luna's lunchbox on the counter. A sticky note said, "Bring forms." 2 mugs sat on opposite counters again. I called the gap a style choice. He called it space. His phone lit once as private. He turned it face down. I said secrets. He said spam. I posted a small selfie and wrote that honest nights keep love fresh. My mother sent hearts. My brother sent jokes. Adrian asked if the invite was truly just girls. I said the bar was public and safe. Later, I checked the wall planner. A date was red-circled. I asked what it meant. He said busy week. I laughed and said he loved paper. He said paper keeps rooms calm. I said rooms need music. He said routines keep Luna steady. I came home late and called it slow trains. The apartment smelled like lemon cleaner and warm air. Adrian had washed dishes and stood them like neat soldiers on the rack. 2 mugs waited on opposite counters again. His by the kettle, mine near the fruit bowl. I said the mugs looked dramatic. He said the space kept things simple. I said space meant fear. He asked if I had eaten. I said I took bites with my friends. He asked if drops and bites counted as dinner. I said laughter fed better. He slid Luna's lunchbox onto the counter and tucked a sticky note inside. The note said, "Bring forms." I rolled my eyes and said schools drown in paper. He said paper kept children safe. I said children need mothers who stay alive inside. He asked me to sit. I walked the long way around the island and traced the countertop edge with my finger. He asked me to tell him straight, was it only girls? I said the bar was public and safe. He asked if Marco would be there. I said he might pass by. He asked if the invite was old or new. I said people like us never lose touch. He said people like us should draw lines. I touched my ring and then slipped it off. I dropped it in the little dish by the sink. The sound was soft and brave. He watched the ring more than he watched my face. I lifted my phone and took a hand photo with the empty ring line and wrote a caption about honest nights. The view count showed his name first. I told myself that meant he cared about my glow. My mother Soraya sent a row of hearts. My brother Nate sent a crown and a joke. I flipped the screen for Adrian to see. He said the internet would not raise Luna. I checked the wall planner and saw a new red circle around next Tuesday. I said I did not draw it. He said he did. I asked what it meant. He said it marked a busy week. I asked why he did not write letters, only shapes. He said letters would come later. I called it vague. He called it private. I laughed and said he loved paper more than air. He said paper kept rooms calm. I said rooms need music. He said routines keep Luna steady. He moved to the kettle and set it to boil. Steam fogged the cupboard door. He asked again if Marco would come. I said adults can mingle in public. He asked if I believed mingling and hiding were the same word. I said he was making poetry out of fear. He asked me not to make games out of trust. I said trust grows under light. He said light without consent is theft. I said he was quoting a podcast to win. He did not raise his voice. He carried a basket of folded laundry to the guest room. I followed and stood in the doorway. The bed looked smooth but lightly pressed, as if someone had placed a palm and lifted it away. I said sleeping here made him dramatic. He said sleeping there kept Luna's night quiet. I said, Luna sleeps like a rock. He said rocks still feel tides. I said he was turning our house into a museum. He said he was keeping the noise away from our child. Back in the kitchen, his phone lit once with a muted banner. Private. He flipped it face down. I asked who was so private. He said he set it that way for unknown calls. I said unknown was where life grows. He said unknown was where trouble hides. I laughed and said he sounded like a school notice. He said school notices keep buses on time. I said buses are boring. He said buses bring children home. I opened my tote to check my gloss. A strange photo near the top of my gallery made me pause. The corner of a document on a dark table, a shallow shadow across a line of numbers, the edge of a heading I could not read. I did not remember taking it. I told myself I must have tapped by mistake while moving my bag. I scrolled past and pretended the weight of paper could not touch me if I did not look. I stood at the balcony door and let the city noise slide in. Our car faced the street. I said the car was pointed like a getaway. He said it was pointed like a morning. I said he was making a point I could not see. He said points were for fights, and he was not fighting. He asked me to define girls' night once more in plain words. I said it was drinks and dancing, and maybe a chat with Marco to clean up the past so we could grow stronger. He asked if I would be home by 10. I said clocks are cages. He asked if Luna would see me in the morning. I said she would see me bright and honest, which was better than sleepy. He went to the small desk in the corner and opened the laptop. A clean desktop showed two main folders, Archive A and Archive B. He opened a sheet full of tight cells and small dates. I said he was turning our life into a spreadsheet. He said he was organizing the week. I stepped closer and watched the window slide down and vanish. He had minimized it. I called it hiding. He said it kept him on task. I said the task was to learn that freedom needs trust. He said the task was to keep a child steady. I adjusted my jacket and picked up my tote. He kept his hand on the back of a chair. He asked me to think again. I said I had done the hard thinking already. He asked me to speak to him plain in front of the sink. I said adults can mingle. We are not teenagers. He said teenagers often know what no means. I said he was using teacher words to win. He said he would not fight. He said he would keep bedtime, pack lunches, and do school drop-off as usual. The hallway light hummed. Our neighbor, Mrs. Duarte, opened her door and then closed it again. The peephole looked like a small eye with patience. I moved toward it and grinned as if it were a camera. I left the apartment with a brave face and fast heels. In the stairwell, my phone buzzed. A message preview from a contact saved only as an emoji flashed with a heart and a location. I deleted the preview without opening it. The small power of erasing felt like proof I was still the author. When I came back near midnight, the living room lamp drew a neat rectangle over the rug. The kettle sat dry on the back burner. The two mugs still stood on opposite counters like small moons pulling away from each other. The guest room door was open 3 inches. I placed my tote by the couch and paused. The apartment air carried a faint clean paper smell, like a printer had worked and then slept. I told myself it was the downstairs office across the street. I washed my face and tied my hair back, so I looked like a woman who owns the night. When I walked past the guest room, the door eased shut, as if someone touched it gentle from the inside. The community center lobby smelled like hand soap and paper. I liked the front desk because it gave me a stage. I told visitors to sign in and feel welcome. A bulletin board glittered with flyers. The printer behind me began to spool. Sheets slid out with a soft shush. The toner smell made a thin hot line inside my nose. I thought of the clean paper smell at home last night and shook it off. Ms. Barron walked by with her tablet and a face like a calm teacher. She asked if I had a minute for a quick word. I said of course, and pointed at the clock to show I respected time. She asked about my late-night caption on Girls' Night. I said the caption was community talk and honest living. She said parents saw it and asked questions. I said questions prove engagement. She said the centre liked engagement that did not pull staff into scandal. I said adults could handle mixed ideas. She asked me not to tag the centre in personal posts. I said personal posts help attendance. She said partners read tags. I said partners love energy. She said partners love steady staff. She asked if I could put my phone under the counter during rush. I said yes in a soft, polite tone that buys me time. Back at the desk, I added a calendar block named Meeting, Personal at 6. The little square looked official and safe. I opened a browser and typed storage options and delivery tracking and notary near me, just to see what people like Adrian search. The words looked dry and strong like a fence. I closed the tabs fast and reopened the sign-in page as if my glance had not touched the fence at all. A young mother asked about after-school dance. I told her it filled fast, but I could help. While she wrote her email on the form, the lobby screen in the corner cycled community tags. My handle flashed from last night, a rooftop shot with lights behind me. 2 teens glanced up and then at my badge. I lifted my chin like a brand and said, "We love brave art." Ms. Barron's eyes flicked from the screen to me and back again. At 10:30, I checked in the seniors Tai Chi group and answered a call from a vendor. Mr. Keane from HR walked out of his cubicle nook with a folder closed under one hand. He asked if we could talk for 2 minutes. I said sure. We stood by the copier that hummed like a steady bee. He said he had seen a few messages from parents who wondered about staff behavior online. He told me there was a thread labeled follow-up so he could keep notes. I said notes were fine. He asked if I could keep my captions neutral during center hours. I said I could be mindful. He thanked me and did not hand me papers, only words. I returned to the desk and smiled harder at everyone. I posted a boomerang of the water fountain instead of a selfie and wrote, "Hydration is care." A volunteer dropped off a stack of flyers. The printer spooled again and spit a single blank page that still felt warm in my hand. I slid it into the recycle and told myself my life was not a printer that needed a new drum. I checked my messages. Soraya had sent a voice note about brave daughters. Nate had sent a meme of me as a pirate with a heart flag. I let the voice note play in my palm with the volume low. The words sank into my skin like lotion. Near noon, I got a text from Adrian that read, "Downtown, 8:40 a.m. Friday, covered." I wrote back that the title sounded like a spy movie. He wrote that it was a private errand. I wrote that I could help if he asked nicely. He wrote that drop-off and pickup was set. The line felt like a door closing gently. The sponsor liaison for a weekend fair arrived with a smile that did not reach her eyes. She asked if staff social media was monitored. I said we were modern. She said modern needed fences sometimes. I said fences keep good people out. She said fences keep children safe from roads. Her tone was mild, almost kind. I said I would be clear online. She thanked me and left a packet. The packet smelled like glue and an office that believes in binders. I put it on the counter and wiped a small ring of water away from its corner. After lunch rush, I walked outside to the bench under the centre's mural and filmed the painted dancers for a story about community. I did not tag the rooftop. I did not write about Girls' Night. My thumbs hovered over those words anyway. I put the phone down and drew a deep breath like I'd tell visitors to do. When I came back in, Ms. Barron stood by the front desk with her tablet. She asked if we could have another quick word. I nodded and followed her to the little HR nook. Inside, the copier kicked once and fell quiet. Mr. Keane pulled up the follow-up thread. He read a short line from a parent. Staff page too personal. Kids see. He did not say it like a threat. He said it like a cloud reading. He asked me to keep the lobby calm, because the mayor's office might tour on Thursday. I said I understood. He asked if I could move my meeting, personal block, to a time that did not cross the evening rush. I said I would try. He thanked me and reminded me again. Note tags that tie the center to personal posts. I said yes because yes is easy. By 3, my hands moved like a machine. Greet, smile, sign, point. The rhythm soothed me. My phone buzzed with a message from Soraya, asking if Luna could come over Saturday. I told her to ask Adrian. She sent a shrug emoji and 3 hearts. I felt the hearts and the shrug hit me in 2 places at once. I finished my shift at 5. I cleaned the counter with careful lines to show I am a person who respects surfaces. I tucked my badge into my tote. On my way out, I passed the lobby screen again. My handle flashed one more time beside a neon sign, a captured clip from someone else's story. The teens looked, then looked at me. Ms. Barron's tablet pinged. She lifted 2 fingers in the air, the sign for a short talk. At home, I found Adrian at the small desk. The laptop screen was open to a sheet with cells and dates. As I stepped closer, the window slid down into the dock and vanished. I laughed and said he was writing a novel about his wife. He said he was organizing house things. I said house things sounded like a code for punishments. He said house things were house things. He signed Luna's reading log with neat initials and dates. He placed a slim binder labeled utilities into his tote. It looked thicker than bills. I said he was building a parade out of paper. He said paper keeps roofs dry. I went to the wall planner again. The red circle sat like a coin of heat. I took a picture and almost posted it, then remembered the sponsor and Ms. Barron. I put my phone down and chewed on the inside of my cheek. The apartment smelled faintly of warm paper again. I told myself it came from the copier at work that stuck to my clothes. I placed my mug near his and then moved it back to my side, just to watch the gap grow and shrink. The rooftop bar sat like a bright plate above the city. Strings of bulbs drew warm paths, and the DJ booth pulsed with little bursts of color. I told myself this was the correct air for a woman who keeps promises to herself. My friends came in pairs, hands up, glitter on cheeks. I said we would start with a round and a laugh. They asked if my husband minded. I said adults can breathe without asking. I did not say that Marco had already texted the door guy. We took a long table by the rail. I filmed a slow sweep of shoes and smiles and wrote that girls' night was a trust exercise. Hearts rushed up the screen. My brother sent a crown and a rocket. Soraya sent a voice note saying, "Brave daughters keep families modern." I let the note play against my palm and felt the words soak in like lotion. I told my friends that support comes easy when women listen to women. They cheered because cheers fit anywhere. Marco arrived like a small wind people pretend not to notice. He hugged 2 of my friends and said he was only here for the music. I said music needs witnesses. He asked if I was sure about optics. I said optics love light. He stood a little behind the group and kept a safe smile, the kind men wear when they want to be invited, but also to escape. I told myself that was charm, not caution. A promoter asked if I could tag the venue. I said of course and angled my phone, so the neon sign cut a clean line over my shoulder. I tilted my hand so the ring line hid in the shadow. The clip looked good. I posted it with a caption about research nights. A woman at the next table cocked her head and said, I sounded harsh in my latest post. I said honesty can sound like sandpaper before it smooths. She said kind hands smooth better. I said kind hands also hide. The words tasted like copper and pride. Phones began to rise in small clusters. I liked the attention more than I liked any drink. I messaged Adrian that the venue wanted a charity tie-in. I said I might meet the manager in a corner to discuss flyers. A red dot appeared and then faded. I decided that meant consent. My friends planned a toast. They said I should speak because I had the strongest mouth. I stood on the bench in the corner where the skyline sits like a low fire. I lifted my glass and said, girls' nights fix what lies break. I said, safety is not silence. A few clapped. A few did not. A man near the rail said, I was shaming a good teacher for staying calm. I said calm is another word for no pulse. A camera flash cracked and burned my eyes white for a breath. Marco leaned in far enough to smell like mint and asked if I wanted water. I said I wanted a moment. He asked if I had told Adrian he might stop by. I said adults can stand in the same room without a courtroom. He laughed in a soft, careful way and stepped back. A friend asked if Marco would join the toast. He said he would take the picture. I said we did not need pictures. He said I was already making them. It landed like rain on stone. I slipped to the smoking patio to cool my face. The city's noise pulled the bass into the sky. I opened my gallery to pick a clip and saw again that odd photo. A document corner with a dark table and a line of numbers. I could not place the moment I tapped it. I scrolled past and chose the skyline clip where my chin looked strong. I wrote that fear dies where women stand together. 2 strangers nearby debated my caption. One said I was brave. The other said bravery without kindness becomes stone. I told myself stone builds walls, and walls need doors, and doors need people like me to open them. The chant came faster than I expected, a small wave that grew. People called my handle, and the word toast like a litany. I climbed the bench again. I said, research is not betrayal, research is safety. I said we test brakes in cars, we can test hearts and still drive home. Phones lifted like little moons, lenses glassy with hunger. The camera flash hit again, then again. For a moment, the white circles floated in my vision like drifting confetti. I smiled wider because a wide smile photographs well even when the stomach tightens. My phone buzzed in my hand. A message preview from a contact, saved only as an emoji, showed a heart, and the words, almost there. I let the preview glow, and then deleted the preview without opening it. Power hid in small deletions. Another buzz came from the girls' chat, a string of eye emojis, a crown, a question mark. I dropped the phone into my bag and raised my glass higher. I said the map belongs to those who walk it. I said the future rewards women who refuse quiet cages. The chant thickened, and people at other tables lifted their glasses too. Not all for me, but the light made it look that way. Marco lingered at the back edge of the group like a shadow trying to be polite. He said his set at another place started soon. He asked if we would talk after. I said time moves when I tell it to. He nodded like a person who has learned to let time win. The wind kicked across the patio and lifted napkins. I watched one napkin stick to the rail and then slide off and tumble down into darkness. It looked like a letter that had jumped instead of being sent. I posted one more story, tight on my face, with the caption, "Girls keep each other safe." The hearts came quick, but mixed with them were comments asking about Adrian. I did not answer. A woman near the wall said she hoped I had a plan for the morning. I said, morning loves people who plan the night. She asked if a child loves that. The question laid a small cold line under my ribs. I smoothed it with another smile. The DJ pulled the volume down and yelled for a special toast. The room turned toward me because my friends pointed. I lifted my glass like a flag. Phones rose fully now. People at the nearest table counted down from 3. It felt like a race starting. I told myself I would win because I was the only one brave enough to keep running when the road tilted. The family restaurant smelled like fries, crayons, and a light cinnamon dust from the birthday cake they bring to every table whether you ask or not. Luna wore a paper crown and tapped it to make the elastic sit comfortably. Helen, my mother-in-law, sat with a posture that reminded me of library shelves. Upright, quiet, full of rules. She asked how work was. I said busy with community love. She asked if community loved child bedtime. I said children thrive on lively mothers. She moved her eyes to Luna and asked her about school instead. Adrian helped the server arrange small plates and asked for water, with no ice for Luna. He paid our part early, that tidy move he makes when he wants a clean exit without a scene. I said early looked like running away. He said early looked like steady planning. He kept his voice soft. It made me want to raise mine just to color the air. Our neighbor, Mrs. Duarte, sat with her sister 2 tables away. She had that ledger look again, counting without writing. I told a short speech about girls protecting girls. I said I invited Marco because women need safety when exes show up, and I was modeling confidence, not chaos. Forks paused above plates. No one clapped. Helen asked what lesson Luna should learn from a mother who invites old loves to new tables. I said truth is fresh air. She asked if fresh air includes shutting windows when children sleep. I said windows need to be opened sometimes. She looked at her napkin and smoothed a corner that was already smooth. The server recognized me from a rooftop tag someone had reshared and asked if she could follow my page. I said of course. She asked if I did events. I said yes, all kinds, because I like to sound generous. Nate texted the family thread a meme of a rocket again. Soraya sent a line that in-laws fear modern love. Helen's mouth did not change shape. It was a very disciplined mouth, the kind that belongs to people who outlast storms. Adrian's phone gave that small, organized sound. A banner flashed. Paper drop 2:45 p.m. He dismissed it with his thumb. I asked what the label meant. He said it was a reminder. I asked if the reminder was for my benefit or his. He said reminders serve time, not people. He slid a thin utilities binder into his tote. It looked thicker than bills. I said he was building a paper parade. He said receipts make memory clear. Luna tugged my sleeve. She asked why Daddy slept in the guest room. I said Daddy needed quiet for numbers. She asked if I loved Daddy. I said love changes shape and stays love. She asked if inviting Marco to girls' night was kind. The air went colder, the way restaurant air goes cold when the AC stumbles on and forgets everyone at once. I said meeting old friends can be responsible. She asked again if it was kind. I drank water to buy a second and said, kindness tells the truth even when it hurts a little. She looked down at her crown and did not smile. Cake came with a sparkler. The flame hissed and shot short light. Luna clapped. I tried to clap louder than my chest. Helen asked if Luna could come to the park with her after lunch. I said we had plans. Adrian said the park would be gentle. He looked at Luna and asked if she wanted the swings. She nodded hard. I said I could join, but no one waited for my yes. They stood. The table slid chairs back in that soft scrape of public politeness. At the small playground behind the restaurant, the swings squeaked a little. Adrian pushed with that teacher rhythm of count 3, slow 4. Luna asked if we were a 2-house family like her friend. Adrian said we had 1 home and 2 rooms right now. I said adventure keeps hearts awake. She asked if adventure means leaving your family to be with someone else. The word someone else landed with a dull thud. I said adventure means telling the truth and coming back stronger. She said coming back hurts if someone waits. I told myself she picked that line up at school because it sounded too neat for 6. A cousin from the long table stopped by the fence and asked softly if posting nights with exes helps the center's brand. I said, women want brave staff. She said parents want steady staff. I said both can live in one woman. She nodded and left me with the squeak of the swing chain and the sound of a father counting softly. We left the park when the sun slid a hand behind the clouds. On the way to the cars, Luna slipped her palm into mine and asked if kisses with exes are tests that make families stronger. I said kisses are information. She asked if information is kind. The question sat in my throat. Adrian opened the car door and said they would be home by 3. I said I needed to stop by the center to prep flyers. He said routines would hold. I drove alone to the supermarket instead because supermarkets let your brain hum. Under the cold lights of the self-checkout, Mrs. Duarte rolled a cart past me and gave a small nod, like a judge who does not announce verdicts out loud. I told myself I did not mind being watched. I filmed a basket shot with flowers and wrote that homes bloom when women lead. The camera put bright green around my face and ignored my hands. I took comfort in the lie because comfort is what lies do well. Back home, the hallway smelled faintly like warm paper again, as if a printer down the hall had been busy and then rested. Inside, the guest bed looked smooth, but pressed at one corner. 2 mugs stood on opposite counters as always. I moved mine closer to his, then moved it back to my side. The act felt like I was directing a tiny stage play in which chairs say what people will not. Luna brought me her library book and asked who would read tonight. Adrian said he would, since I had meetings. I said I could read if she wanted a fun voice. She said Daddy finished chapters. I smiled like that did not cut. He opened the reading log and signed with neat initials and dates. He set the tote by the small desk and checked the wall planner. The red-circled date on next Tuesday glowed like a little sun on paper. I walked toward the desk. The laptop screen was open, showing a sheet with marked cells. The minute my shadow touched the edge, the window slid down and minimized. I laughed and said he was writing a novel about me again. He said he was organizing house things. I said house things were codes for punishments. He said house things were house things. His voice stayed level. It made me itch. I checked my phone. The rooftop clip had grown long comments. Some people called me bold. Some called me cruel. Soraya sent a voice note that women become legends when they refuse to shrink. Nate sent a meme with a crown and a fire emoji. I let the voice note run soft against my palm, but the words sounded like air from inside a shell. From the hall, footsteps came and paused outside our door. The pause felt like a pencil waiting to decide if the page should get a mark. Then the steps moved on. I breathed and told myself I did not care about doors or pencils or pages. I messaged Marco a wave. He replied with 3 dots that went away, then a song link. I typed a question and erased it. I tried to post a small story from the balcony, but the wind shoved hair into my mouth, and the caption looked like begging. We ate early. Adrian set a plate for Luna and a smaller one for me. He asked if I would be home for bedtime. I said maybe, if the night flowed right. He said bedtime would not wait for flow. Luna looked between us and chewed slowly, as if slow chewing could delay the hour. I told myself bedtime was an old system for old houses. I looked at the mugs, at the ring dish, at the red circle on the planner. I told myself the stage was still mine. Luna finished her page and asked again, soft as a leaf, if leaving to be with Marco was kind. I smiled too wide and said truth must live, even if comfort gets cold. She nodded like children nod when they know the answer is wrong, but the day is ending. Adrian cleared the plates with a quiet order. He did not make a speech. He did not ask for a fight. He looked at the clock and then at the door to the guest room, which stood open 3 inches like a mouth that refuses to shout. The school pickup line moved like a slow river under a flat sky. Parents stood in little islands by the curb with coffee cups. I told myself this was the spot to fix the story because sidewalks make men careful. Adrian stood near the crossing sign with his badge tucked into his jacket. He waved to a teacher. He asked if I had seen Luna's reading reminder. I said I would handle it later because I was planning a Sent Her fundraiser. He said bedtime would be normal. I said normal kills joy. He said normal keeps kids calm. Luna ran out with her backpack bumping her sides. She hugged him first. He asked if the horse in her library book still won. She said the horse saved energy and finished strong. I said fast horses win by speed. He said fast without finish is only noise. I raised my voice a little and said he loved words like routine and schedule because they made him feel tall. A father looked at his shoes. Adrian kept his eyes on Luna and said we would talk at home. On the drive, I called Soraya on speaker and said Adrian used quiet to punish me. Soraya said men make nets with silence. She said to cut holes with sound. Luna asked if the phone could be private. Adrian tapped the audio off and said calls would be private when she was in the car. I said he was controlling. He said that was called parenting. I looked at my reflection in the window and told myself I could out-talk any net. At home, he hung Luna's backpack on the hook and set apple slices on a plate. He asked about spelling. She said she got a star. I said I would post the star later. He said we could clap in the kitchen now. I clapped once, loud. He did not match it. He opened her reading log and signed the box with neat initials and dates. The pen strokes looked like rails. I said rails like that make people boring. He said rails like that keep trains on bridges. He put on headphones for a short call and stood by the window. He said hello in that measured voice he uses with stormy students. He said 2 times work next week. He used initials, not names. He said he would deliver by Friday. He listened, said thank you, and ended. He slid the headphone cord into a loop and set it straight, like even the wire needed order. I said he was playing courthouse with small times. He said he was being a father who keeps track. In the kitchen, 2 mugs waited on opposite counters again. He moved mine a little closer to me and set his near the kettle. He washed a spoon and dried it with the care he uses on Luna's hair. He opened a drawer and slid in 3 labeled binders: home, auto, bank. The tabs lined up like a quiet staircase. I laughed and said he had built a tiny government for my fire. He said systems help when storms come. I said storms clear the air. He said storms also take roofs. He went to the desk and opened the laptop. A spreadsheet with colored cells filled the screen. Columns of dates, rows with initials. I said it looked like a graveyard for feelings. He tapped save. A small cloud sync pop-up blinked. File uploaded successfully. He closed the window. I leaned closer. The next window slid down and minimized before my eyes could land. I said, minimizing is hiding. He said minimizing is focusing. I said he was collecting crumbs to starve me later. He said he was collecting facts so no one needed to shout. Luna brought her book and asked who would read. He said he would. I said I could if she wanted a fun voice. She said Daddy finishes chapters. I smiled until my cheeks ached. He pulled a thin binder labeled Utilities from the shelf and circled a date with a small dot of ink. I said he was wasting ink to feel big. He said dates keep roofs honest. I said roofs cannot read. He said budgets can. I tried a softer turn. I said my girls' night plan had been safety, not betrayal, and that I came home, which proved loyalty. He said, coming home is geography, loyalty is choice. I said he did not understand modern love. He said love keeps promises or changes shape in plain words. I said plain words are ugly. He said ugly words still hold houses up. I said our friends clapped for me. He said our child needs sleep more than applause. He carried the binder to the hall and slid it into a tote. The hallway held that faint smell again. Warm paper, like a machine had worked and then rested. I said he was building a stage with props. He said he was building a week. The shredder in the nook hummed for a short breath and stopped, like a cloth sigh. I said shredding was dramatic. He said it was tidying. I said, tidy is a threat. He said tidy is respect when words run hot. He set his phone on the counter. A small alarm flashed. Paper drop. He dismissed it and turned the screen face down. I said paper drops sound like parades for clerks. He said parades are loud, plans are quiet. He filled Luna's water bottle and checked the backpack pocket for a library slip. He looked at me then, flat and calm, and said he would handle matters properly. He did not raise his voice. He did not list steps. He said the word like a door that already had hinges. I wanted him to shout so I could point in the kitchen light and call him cruel. He would not. He set 2 mugs on opposite counters for morning. He wiped the sink and flicked the light. The house moved into the small sounds of bedtime. Pages, a glass set down, the slow pull of a drawer. Those sounds make lies angry because they do not clap. I walked to the balcony and filmed the street and wrote that brave love needs tests. Hearts rose up the screen. I watched them march to cover my fear. Inside, he placed a tiny USB stick with today's date under the taxes folder and closed the drawer. He locked it. The click was small and final. He checked the wall planner and tapped the red circled date once with his finger, just a touch. Luna came to kiss me goodnight and asked if I would be home for morning pancakes. I said I had a meeting, personal, but I would return early. She asked if the meeting was with girls or with Marco. The words made a hard line in the air. I laughed and said meetings are with ideas. She looked at Adrian and nodded the way children nod to their safest map. He read to her until 7:30. He came out with that end-of-chapter look, calm and alert, like a pilot after a smooth landing. He checked the stove, the window latch, the lock. He did not ask me to agree about anything. He said again he would handle it properly. The word sat in the room like a heavy cup no one could knock over. The courthouse lobby felt like a clean echo chamber. Marble floors sent shoe sounds back to ankles. I came to meet Ms. Barron for a neutral coffee and to pitch a careful charity idea. I also planned a quick contrite selfie near the art wall because marble looks like forgiveness. I wore a dress that said I respected rules and cameras at the same time. Flags by the doors stirred with the building's breath. I told myself this was stage light, not judgment. Ms. Barron texted that she was almost here and that HR might join. Good, I thought, 2 birds in one talk. An elevator bell chimed, doors slid open, and a small group stepped into the lobby with folders. I lifted my phone and practiced a soft, sorry smile. I moved toward the patch of light that makes cheekbones look like decisions. A man with a clipboard walked from near security and came straight to me. He asked if I was Undine Vesper. I said yes in my center voice. He asked me to confirm my address. I did, because I like to show I cooperate. He said he was here to serve me. He held out a thick envelope. On his board, I could see one word on the top sheet through thin paper. Statement. The word hit harder than his voice. I said I had a meeting. He said service was complete once he identified me and offered the documents. He placed the envelope in my hand. The edge drew a small line across the base of my thumb. Adrian stood several paces back near the elevator bank. No bag, hands in pockets. He did not look angry or proud. He looked finished. Ms. Barron entered from the side doors with Mr. Keene. They slowed when they saw the exchange. Ms. Barron stepped aside to give space, like space could keep feelings off the marble. Mr. Keene looked at the lobby clock and then wrote in a small notebook. I said this had to be a trick. Adrian said we tried talking at home and that he had told me he would handle it properly. He said the packet held a divorce petition and temporary orders. He said the orders named interim home use, primary bedroom to him and Luna, guest room to me until decisions were final. He said there was a curbside exchange schedule that began this week, with fixed times. He said I would not remove Luna from school without written consent. He said financial disclosures would go into a shared folder. He said all communication would be by email, so there would be a clear record. He said he would not discuss it around Luna or at work again. I said we could fix this at home if I apologized. He said the orders would guide next steps and keep things steady. I said he was punishing me for being honest. He said this was not punishment, this was process. He said Luna needed parents who use plans, not storms. His voice was steady, the one he uses to explain numbers and buses. He did not step closer. He did not whisper. He let the rules sit between us like a wall he did not have to hold with his hands. The process server spoke the time and date to his clipboard, nodded at me, and nodded at security. He turned and walked toward the atrium, already checking the next line. People near the kiosk slowed and pretended to study muffins. A child asked for a cookie. The flag cords clicked against the poles with each door opening. The envelope gained weight in my hand the longer I held it. The word statement glowed in my mind like a little window I could not close. I looked to Ms. Barron. She said we could reschedule and that the center supports dignity at work. Mr. Keene asked if I needed a quiet room. I said I was fine. The word tasted like chalk. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I did not answer. I looked at Adrian and said we could still choose a kind version. He said I could do what the paper required first. He said he would email instructions to remove posts today and would send the exchange times in writing. He said he would be at the curb at 6 with Luna, on schedule. I said he did not need an audience. He said he was not making a show, he was making order. He thanked the security desk for their patience. He told Ms. Barron and Mr. Keene he hoped their day went smoothly. He nodded toward the doors with the calm of someone who has measured his steps already. He did not look at my dress or my face for permission. He looked at the clock and then at the exit, like time was a hallway and he knew which door was his. The lobby swallowed sound and gave it back smaller. A student crossed with a backpack and asked a guard where to sign. A woman rubbed her wrist and read a sign about hours. The process server's shoes squeaked once and then went quiet again. I held the envelope in 2 hands now because one hand felt too visible. I thought of the odd photo of a document corner in my gallery and understood my fingers had known this shape before my mind did. The elevator bell chimed again. The doors opened. Adrian stepped inside with 2 other people. He nodded to the guard and to Ms. Barron. He did not nod to me. He said he would send the email within the hour. He said he hoped my afternoon stayed calm. The doors began to close. The polished steel showed a quick reflection, his face steady, my face bright and small, the white of the envelope like a held breath. The doors met with a soft seal. The echo of the bell drifted along the ceiling and lost its edges. I stood under the flags with the envelope against my ribs. Through the paper, I felt the grid of a week I did not design. Somewhere, a printer clicked and stopped. The lobby air smelled clean, like paper that has already chosen what it will be. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.